The grand hall of Vayara Prime was filled with whispers. Hundreds of alien delegates had gathered, each one watching the tall figure at the center stage. He was different from them. He was human. Ambassador Elias Kane stood with steady shoulders and calm eyes. His black uniform carried no weapons, only a silver badge that showed Earth's emblem. Today was not about war. It was about peace. He looked around at the alien faces, some curious, some suspicious, others quietly fearful. This was history. Humans were new to the galaxy's stage, but they had risen fast. Now, Kane was here to sign a treaty that promised peace between worlds that once hated each other. "Let us make a new chapter," Kane said, his voice carrying across the hall. "A chapter where humans and all species walk together, not as enemies, but as partners." The hall grew quiet. Even those who distrusted humans leaned forward to listen. His words had power, and for a moment it seemed the galaxy itself held its breath. Then it happened. A sharp sound cracked through the air, like fire breaking the silence. A blinding flash. A plasma shot streaked across the hall and struck Kane's chest. The human ambassador staggered, eyes wide with shock. His body collapsed onto the floor. Gasps filled the room. Alien voices cried out in panic. The treaty, the hope, the peace, all shattered in one terrible moment. "Someone fired!" shouted a guard. "Seal the exits!" another roared. But fear had already taken hold. Delegates ran for the doors. Cloaks and robes dragged across the floor. Beasts from desert worlds hissed in panic. The great hall became chaos, and at the center, Elias Kane lay still. A reptilian delegate whispered in horror, "They killed a human. They killed their diplomat." Another delegate hissed back, "Do you realize what this means? Do you know what humans will do when they hear of this?" The words spread like poison. Every alien in the hall knew the truth. Humanity did not forgive easily. Guards scanned the shadows for the shooter. Smoke rose near the upper balconies. "Find them!" a commander barked, but the assassin was gone. In the corner, an alien aide named Nara trembled as she clutched her data slate. She had studied humans, read about their strange resilience and endless wars. She had seen records of their history, cities turned to ash, yet rebuilt stronger, fleets destroyed, yet returned larger. "They will not forget this," Nara whispered. Her superior, a tall insectoid delegate, turned sharply. Silence. "Do not speak of humans here," but Nara could not stop her thoughts. She had read a warning. Once, humanity seeks peace, but when peace is broken, their wrath shakes the stars. As panic spread, a group of alien officers gathered near Kane's body. One of them, a grey-scaled soldier, reached out to check. His claw trembled as he pressed against the human's neck. "There is no pulse," he said quietly. The words froze the officers in place. One muttered, "Then the galaxy is finished." But just as they prepared to cover the body, Kane's hand twitched. The officers stepped back in shock. His fingers curled slightly, then more. A faint sound came from his lips. "He's alive," one officer whispered. Kane's eyes fluttered open, dim but burning with determination. His voice was hoarse, but the words were clear. Who fired?" The officers looked at one another, unsure whether to answer. One finally said, "We don't know. They escaped." Kane's gaze sharpened. Blood stained his uniform, yet his stare was fierce, unbroken. "Listen to me," he rasped. "Do not let them escape. If this crime is blamed on the wrong hands, war will come faster than you can imagine. Sir, you must rest." "No!" Kane forced himself up on one elbow, teeth clenched in pain. "This is no simple attack. This is a spark. Someone wants fire. Someone wants war." The words carried a weight that silenced the soldiers. They could feel it, truth in his tone, dread in their hearts. Above them, loudspeakers crackled. "Security breach on level 4. Repeat, level 4 compromised. Nara's eyes widened. She turned to her superior. It's not over, she said. The shot was only the beginning. The insectoid delegate hissed. What do you mean? She held up her data slate, showing intercepted signals. There's a second device, a bomb. They planned for chaos. Before anyone could reply, the lights flickered. A low hum filled the hall. Somewhere above, machinery whirred to life. The panic doubled. Delegates screamed as guards shouted for evacuation. Kane tried to rise but staggered. 2 soldiers caught him, holding him steady. Get everyone out, Kane commanded. His voice, though weak, cut through the noise. The soldiers obeyed, rushing to lead aliens towards safety. But Nara stayed. She looked at Kane, fear mixing with respect. Why are you still here? Kane asked her. Because, she said softly, if this bomb is real, running will not save anyone. We must stop it. Kane studied her for a moment, then gave a faint, grim smile. Bravery. Not only human, after all. Together they moved toward the upper level, guided by the hum of the device. Smoke curled from vents, and shadows seemed alive with danger. Every step carried dread, every corner promised death. Finally, they reached the balcony, and there it was, a small sphere of black metal, pulsing with a red glow. The bomb. Nara froze. It's armed. Kane leaned against the wall, his body trembling from blood loss. Can you disarm it? She shook her head. It's alien tech, but I can try to slow it. He stepped closer, placing his hand firmly on the device. His voice dropped low, almost a whisper. If this explodes, the galaxy will burn in war. We cannot let it. Nara's hands flew over the panel, desperate. Sparks jumped. The timer on the bomb ticked down. 10 seconds. 9, 8. Kane closed his eyes, steadying his breath. Suddenly, the timer froze. Nara gasped. I stopped it. Silence followed. Only the sound of their breathing filled the hall. Kane opened his eyes, relief breaking through his pain. You saved them. You saved us all. Nara looked at him, voice shaking. No, we only delayed it. Whoever planted this is still out there. Kane nodded slowly. His gaze swept over the hall below, where terrified delegates were gathering again. Then the real game, he whispered, has only begun. And in that moment, the galaxy knew peace had been wounded. Suspense hung in the air, heavy and sharp. The question burned in every mind. Who had dared to strike humanity? And what would humanity do when it struck back? News of the attack spread faster than light. Within hours, every corner of the galaxy was buzzing with one headline: a human diplomat has been shot. On distant space stations, in the crowded streets of alien worlds, in the silent halls of royal palaces, voices whispered, shouted, and argued about what this meant. A group of merchants on the desert moon of Tharia gathered in a small tavern. One of them, a scaled lizard-like creature, slammed his cup on the table. Do you fools not understand? They killed a human, he hissed. A bird-like trader tilted his head. So what? Humans are strong, yes, but they are not gods. The lizard leaned closer, his voice sharp. Not gods, something worse. They are relentless. When they lose one of their own, they do not forgive. They hunt. They avenge. The tavern grew silent. Everyone knew stories, old reports of human wars, ancient battles where Earth had clawed victory from impossible odds. Humanity was young compared to most races, but their history was soaked in fire. Meanwhile, on the planet Cerilon, a council of nobles argued inside a crystal chamber. This is an opportunity, one said, his voice calm but dangerous. If humanity is thrown into chaos, their rise can be slowed. They will waste strength on revenge. Another noble shook his head. You are a fool. Have you not studied their history? When humans are attacked, they do not waste strength. They grow stronger. Their unity is their weapon. A third whispered, perhaps that is the true danger. Not their ships, not their weapons, but their unity. As the nobles debated far away in a hidden chamber deep within an asteroid base, the assassins' employers met. Cloaked figures sat around a long table. "The shot has been fired," one of them said. "The humans will rage. Let them. They will strike blindly, and the galaxy will unite against them." Another leaned forward. "Do not underestimate them. Humanity is not blind. If they discover our hand in this, they will not stop until every one of us is dust." A cold silence followed. Even among enemies, the word human carried weight. Back on Earth, the news reached faster than the dawn. Crowds gathered outside. Government halls. Some cried, some shouted, but most stood in silent anger. In a secure chamber under the Atlantic, Earth's leaders met. The president of the United Earth Alliance spoke slowly, her voice heavy. The blackness of space was no longer silent. It rumbled with engines, the kind that shook worlds when they passed. Humanity's fleets were on the move. One by one, ships emerged from warp, dark silhouettes against the stars. Sleek cruisers, heavy. Carriers and destroyers built for war stretched across the void. Their hulls bore the same symbol, Earth's silver crest, glowing like a warning. On the flagship Resolute, Admiral Reyes stood at the command deck, her hands clasped behind her back. Her eyes locked on the holomap where red markers pulsed. "Enemy. Supply lines, fleets and outposts. Status," she asked calmly. "Fleets Alpha and Beta are in position," a lieutenant replied. "Gamma Fleet will rendezvous within the hour. All systems green." Reyes nodded. "Then the hunt begins." The order was simple. Strike fast. Strike precise. Break the enemy not with chaos, but with control. Moments later, humanity's first blow fell. A convoy belonging to the rival empire drifted through neutral space, unaware of the storm. Dozens of freighters carried food, fuel, and weapons. They never reached their destination. Human warships cut through the void like predators. Within minutes, the freighters were disabled, their escorts destroyed. On the bridge of one freighter, an alien captain screamed, "Who are they? Where did they come from?" The answer came on every channel. "This is the United Earth Fleet. You killed our envoy. Now you face our justice." The alien's face turned pale. The humans did not even finish him. They simply disabled his ship and left it drifting, alive but powerless. A message to all who would listen. News spread like wildfire. Planets whispered in fear. Commanders who once mocked humans now ordered their fleets to retreat. On the surface of the alien capital world, their council argued in panic. "They are cutting us apart," one shouted. "They don't even take our worlds. They leave them, but broken," cried another. An older leader, his voice shaking, whispered the truth. "They want us to suffer. They want us to remember. Humanity is not fighting for conquest. They are fighting for warning." Back on the Resolute, Admiral Reyes received a report. Enemy patrol neutralized. No casualties. Survivors left stranded. Reyes allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Let them live. Fear spreads faster than fire." But not all battles were so simple. At the edge of the Calith system, a massive alien fleet blocked humanity's path. Thousands of ships glittered in the void. Their commander, Lord Sareth, believed he could crush the humans in one strike. "Humans are reckless," he told his officers. "They strike quick, but they are fragile. We will break them here." When the human fleets arrived, the stars lit. With war, laser fire tore across the black. Missiles screamed through space. Human ships moved like a single creature, coordinated and relentless. Every alien push was met with brutal counterstrikes. On the bridge of his warship, Sareth roared, "Why won't they fall? Why do they fight like this?" One of his officers trembled. "They fight, as if death itself fears them." Hours passed. Wreckage drifted across the system. Alien ships burned in silence, their lights snuffed out. Humanity did not take the system. They did not stay. They left only ruins behind, proof of their power. Survivors whispered across the comms, "They do not conquer. They punish." Far away, Ambassador Kane listened to the reports from his recovery chamber. His chest was bandaged, but his eyes blazed with fire. "So it begins," he murmured. The doctor frowned. "You should rest. This war, it will spread." Kane shook his head. "It's not war, it's a message, and every star will hear it." Meanwhile, Nara, the alien aide who had delivered the evidence, traveled under human protection. She sat across from an intelligence officer aboard a transport ship. "You saw the truth," the officer said. "Tell me, why did you help us?" Nara hesitated, her hands clenched. "Because I know what my people feared. They thought humans were fragile. They thought killing one envoy would silence Earth. But I saw your eyes. I knew the truth." The officer studied her. "And what truth is that?" "That humanity does not break. Humanity rises." The officer gave a thin smile. "Then you understand better than most of your leaders." Back on alien worlds, whispers grew darker. In markets and taverns, in schools and palaces, one phrase repeated, "Do not anger the humans." On a mining colony, workers watched as human ships disabled an orbital station, then left without landing. One miner whispered to another, "They don't want our world. They only want us to know fear." And fear was spreading, faster than fleets, faster than weapons. Fear was the weapon humanity wielded best, but the storm was far from over. In a hidden base deep within the rival empire, the hooded figure who had planned the assassination watched reports with a twisted smile. "Good," he whispered. "Strike harder, humans. Burn brighter. The more you rage, the easier it will be to turn the galaxy against you." His companion, cloaked in shadow, asked, "And if they discover your hand in this?" The figure's smile faded into something darker. "Then humanity and I will meet face to face, and only one of us will walk away." Back on the Resolute, Admiral Reyes stood before her fleet. "We have cut their lines, we have broken their fleets, but this is not the end. They wanted to test us, now they will see us unleashed." Her words carried across every ship, to every soldier. For the envoy they killed, for the peace they shattered, humanity stands united. And when we fight as one. The fleet roared back in unison, voices shaking the void. As the ships prepared for their next strike, the galaxy held its breath. The wrath of humanity was no longer a rumor, it was real. It was here, and it was only just beginning. The galaxy burned in whispers and fear. Alien empires that once laughed at humanity now trembled when human fleets appeared. Supply lines were cut, patrols vanished, and worlds lay scarred by precise, merciless strikes. But still, no one understood the full reason behind the envoy's death. In the medical chamber aboard the flagship Resolute, Ambassador Kane sat upright for the first time since the attack. His body was still weak, but his eyes carried steel. Admiral Reyes stood at his side, her uniform crisp, her face sharp as ever. "You should not be out of bed, sir," she said. Kane's lips curved into a faint smile. "Peace was shot in the chest, Admiral. Rest can wait." Before Reyes could answer, the doors hissed open. An intelligence officer entered, carrying a data slate. His voice shook with urgency. "We have it, the proof." Kane straightened. "Show me." The officer placed the slate on the table, and a series of coded transmissions filled the air in glowing symbols. Translations scrolled across the screen. The words were clear. "The assassination was ordered," the officer explained. "Not by the Council of Vayara, not by a rogue soldier. It was the work of the Dravari Dominion. They paid the assassin, they planted the bomb, they hoped to spark a war that would consume us." Reyes clenched her fists. "The Dravari." Her voice was like ice. "Of course. They have feared our rise for years." Kane's gaze darkened. "And now they have given us cause." The officer hesitated. There is more. They planned for this. Their leaders believed if we struck back in anger, the rest of the galaxy would join them against us. Reyes slammed her hand against the table. They wanted us to rage blindly, to become monsters in the eyes of the galaxy. Kane leaned forward, his voice low but powerful. Then we will not rage blindly. We will strike with truth, and the galaxy will see them for what they are. Across space, the Dravari Dominion celebrated in secret halls. Their warlords drank to victory, laughing as reports of human attacks reached them. "Look at them," one general boasted. "The humans destroy everything in their path. Soon, the other empires will beg us to lead them against Earth." But their leader, Lord Vaith, was not smiling. His eyes narrowed. "Do not underestimate humans. They do not fight like us. They fight with purpose, and purpose is far more dangerous than rage." One of his advisors scoffed. "Purpose? They are animals with fire, nothing more." Vaith shook his head slowly. "No, they are something new, something the galaxy has never faced." At that same moment, on the Resolute, Kane stood before a council of human leaders gathered by hologram. His voice filled the chamber, steady and strong. "The Dravari Dominion wanted war," Kane declared. "They wanted to use us as a spark to unite the galaxy against us. But we have the truth. And truth is the sharpest weapon we hold." The president of the United Earth Alliance leaned forward in her chair. "What do you propose, Ambassador?" Kane's eyes burned with determination. "We strike the Dravari, not with destruction alone, with evidence. We will expose their crime before the galaxy. We will show every world who they truly are." General Harlan's gravelly voice rumbled. "And while they are shamed, we cut their claws." Reyes nodded firmly. "Then it is decided." The fleets moved again, but this time their purpose shifted. Instead of endless fire, humanity chose precise targets. Outposts of the Dravari fell, one after another, not destroyed, but seized. In every fallen base, human soldiers uncovered. Records, transmissions, proof of betrayal. Across the galaxy, broadcasts lit up with evidence. Messages played on neutral worlds, in alien marketplaces, even in the halls of rival councils. The Dravari Dominion ordered the assassination. They killed a human envoy of peace. They tried to frame humanity. They wanted war. Shock spread like wildfire. On countless worlds, people stared at the evidence and whispered, "They lied to us. They provoked the humans. They wanted blood, not peace." The tide began to turn. Where once voices had called for resistance against humanity, now voices rose against the Dravari. Old allies questioned their trust. Neutral worlds closed their ports to Dravari ships. Fear turned not toward humanity, but toward the empire that had gambled with fire. On the flagship of the Dravari Dominion, Lord Vaith raged. "Who allowed this? Who let the humans spread this poison?" His advisors trembled. "We underestimated them, my lord. We thought they would answer only with war, but they answered with truth." Vaith slammed his clawed hand against the console. "Then we will crush them before the galaxy abandons us." But his words carried less power now. Even his closest generals shifted uneasily, doubt in their eyes. Back on the Resolute, Admiral Reyes stood beside Kane, watching the reports come in. "Worlds are turning against them," she said. "The Dravari are losing allies by the hour." Kane's voice was quiet, almost thoughtful. "They wanted to trap us with war. Instead, they trapped themselves." Nara, standing in the corner, finally spoke. "But they will not surrender easily. The Dravari will fight. They will bleed the stars before they admit defeat." Kane turned to her, his expression grim. "Then let them fight. Humanity does not seek conquest, but we will not stop until justice is done." That night, in the dark streets of neutral worlds, whispers filled the air once again. "Did you hear? The humans had proof. The Dravari lied. They killed the envoy." Perhaps, Humanity is not the monster we feared. The galaxy was changing, not only because of fire, but because of truth. And yet, in the deepest shadows, the hooded figure who had first hired the assassin watched it all unfold. His smile was thin, but it remained. "They are clever," he whispered. "Cleverer than I hoped, but this game is not over, not yet." His eyes gleamed with cold light. "Let them have their victory. The real war is still coming." The galaxy had changed. Where once the Dravari Dominion stood proud, now its name was spoken with hate. Its allies abandoned it, its fleets were scattered, and its councils were filled with fear. Humanity had not only struck with fire, but with truth, and the truth had shaken the stars. But the storm was not over. On the flagship Resolute, Admiral Reyes stood at the command deck. The last great Dravari fleet had been cornered near the dying sun of the Serath system. Wreckage from past battles floated in the void like broken bones. A voice came from her comm officer. "Their flagship is hailing us." Reyes gave a short nod. "Put them through." The screen flickered, revealing Lord Vaith himself. His dark armor glinted and his eyes burned with fury. "Humans," he snarled, "you think yourselves clever. You think your proof has destroyed us. But you are wrong. We will not kneel to you. We will fight until every star burns black." Reyes stared back, her expression calm, almost cold. "You are already finished. Your empire is falling apart. The galaxy knows your crime. You have no allies left." Vaith leaned closer, his voice sharp as a blade. "Perhaps, but if we are to fall, we will take you with us." The connection cut. Moments later, Dravari ships lit up the void with fire. "Enemy fleet advancing," a lieutenant shouted. Reyes raised her hand. "Then we end this." The battle erupted. The void became a storm of light and shadow. Human ships moved with precision, striking hard and fast. The Dravari fought with desperation, their ships clashing like cornered beasts. On the surface of a nearby moon, Kane watched the battle through a fortified outpost window. His body was still recovering, but his eyes were steady. Nara stood beside him, her hands clenched. "They fight like they have nothing left to lose," she said softly. Kane nodded. "And that makes them dangerous, but it also makes them weak. Desperation is not the same as strength." Back in space, the Resolute led the charge. Dravari ships exploded one by one, their wreckage scattering into the dark. But humanity's fleet pressed forward, relentless, refusing to yield. After hours of battle, the Dravari flagship stood alone, its hull cracked and burning. "Target locked," a weapons officer reported. Reyes hesitated. For a moment silence filled the deck, then her voice rang clear. "Hold fire!" The officers exchanged stunned looks. "Admiral?" one asked. Reyes stared at the crippled flagship. "Patch me through to their ship. Now!" The screen lit once, more showing Lord Vaith. His face was bloodied, his ship collapsing around him. "You hesitate?" he hissed. "Will you show mercy? Will you beg for peace?" Reyes' eyes hardened. "No, we don't beg. We don't need mercy. We came for truth, and the truth has already destroyed you. But I want the galaxy to hear this." Her voice rose, carried across every channel, every open frequency in the system. "You killed our envoy of peace. You thought humanity weak. You tried to turn the galaxy against us. But look around you now. Humanity does not fall. Humanity does not break. We endure, and when we are wronged, we rise as one." Across the stars, soldiers, civilians, and rulers listened in silence. Reyes' voice became colder. "You thought we would answer with blind rage. Instead, we answered with justice, and now the galaxy knows. Never again will humanity be prey. Never again will we be silent." Vaith snarled, but his voice cracked. This is not the..." And Reyes gave him one last look. "For you, it is." The screen went black. Moments later, the Dravari flagship erupted in fire, consumed by its own failing core. The last great threat of their empire was gone. The battle was over. Silence returned to space, broken only by the quiet hum of victorious engines. Humanity had not just survived. Humanity had declared itself. Back on the moon's surface, Kane lowered himself into a chair, his chest rising slowly. Nara looked at him with wide eyes. "It's over." Kane shook his head. "No, this battle is over, but peace is never over. It must be guarded, always." Later, in the rebuilt Galactic Council chamber, representatives from across the stars gathered once more. Where once humans had stood as newcomers, now they walked as equals. The room fell silent as Kane entered. His steps were slow but steady. He stood before the council, his voice carrying across the chamber. "We came here once with open hands. You answered with blood. But we did not fall. We rose. And today we stand here again, not as victims but as equals." He paused, his gaze sweeping the chamber. "Let the galaxy remember this. Humanity seeks peace, but if that peace is broken, our answer will shake the stars." No one spoke, no one dared. The silence was filled with respect and with fear. Nara watched from the side, her heart heavy but hopeful. She whispered to herself, "The galaxy will never forget this day." And she was right. From that moment forward, the name of humanity carried a weight no one could deny. The envoy had fallen, but humanity had risen. Their wrath had burned bright, but their truth had burned brighter, and the galaxy forever would remember the final word of Earth.